كثيرا أما بعد. Okay, today we are going to celebrate the Fajr Nights. Put your hand up if you're one of the Fajr Nights. In fact, stand up. Stand up. Shaykh, I know you're young, but you're not that young. Yeah? Okay, mashallah, very good. All right, stay standing. Okay. Right, let me ask the young man there. Yeah, what did you learn from coming to Fajr all these days?
To be responsible and always come and always bring us alive.
MashaAllah. Excellent. Right. So young man over here, what did you learn? Anything different?
Same thing.
Same thing. Anything different? Anything to add?
That you should, oh no,
Yeah, go on. You learned that you should.
it's the same thing.
Should what though?
You should always come to Salah no matter how early or late it is.
Very good. You should always come to Salah. One of the older ones. Yep. MashaAllah. What are the virtues for coming to the Masjid for Salah?
So if you come for Fajr to the Masjid, the angels will make dua for the entire night.
Okay, very good. There's more, right? Someone else?
Not a virtue, but sacrificing my sleep.
Excellent. Good. Sacrificing. Very good. What did you learn?
I learned to wake up early and go to the masjid.
Wake up early. Very good.
I learned that I have to wake up early, even if it's Salah.
Excellent. MashaAllah. Well done, guys. Sit down. Relax. Okay. Mu'adh. Yeah, since I didn't pick you, let me ask you. Did you learn anything from what they had to do just now? What did it feel like having to stand up and someone's going to ask you and you have to speak in front of all these people? And most of them are adults. What did it feel like? Guys, were you nervous? I said to you, stand up, and then I asked you, were you nervous? Yeah, but if you look, they all did it, didn't they? Okay? Right, so what's today's talk about? What's today's talk about? It was on the board there. What's it about? Tarbiyah of who? Young boys. Tarbiyah of young boys. Okay? This is part of the tarbiyah of young boys. What they were doing, coming to the masjid, is all part of the tarbiyah of young boys. You had some really good points that were made by the boys. So instead of taking it from where we normally start from, I want to take it from the boys because they were involved in this program, which is part and parcel of tarbiyah for young men to become proper men in Islam. What it means to be a man in Islam. You heard the word responsible. The first boy who spoke in front of all of you, he said responsible. He said responsible. A key word. You had wake up early. Yeah, that's part of being a man. Waking up early is part of being a man. Forcing yourself to sacrifice, which was the other word the boy said. Sacrifice. Knowing the rewards. Knowing where you're going, why you're doing something. And therefore you're able to sacrifice for it. All very true. Giving up things. Being responsible no matter what. You know, he said, get into the salah no matter what. This is all part of what every single boy needs to learn as he becomes a man. Right, so now, let's have the backdrop. You know, the technical side of it, we need to understand why we need to talk about this issue. Okay? If you think about what's being pumped at us on media, on social media, on the TV, in all your Netflix films, series, everything, when you look at a man now depicted or portrayed in all of these different mediums, what do they make a man look like? Don't include in that, don't include action films. Yeah? Right, so the Imam's talking about watching action films. No, I'm not promoting it. I'm saying, because you all know, and we all know, disregard what happens in action films. In everything else, how do they show a man? What's the characteristics? Weak. Yes, who said that? Right, weak. They show a man to be weak. Okay, that's current how they portray a man. What else?
It's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry in front of everybody. Over what? Anything. Yeah, that's what they show. Yeah, that's true. That's what they show now. Okay, what else?
Slave to desires.
Slave to desires. Very good. Man can't control himself. He does whatever he pleases to do. What else? There's so many different things. You have to be as brave as the boys were. Yeah, you're grown men. Yalla, you know what I like to do? Pick on people. Shaykh over here.
They show men as being soft.
Yeah, we had soft, weak, something else.
Career-oriented 9 to 5 type of job.
Yes, slave. Slave. To either the job or slave to something else. A slave. Yeah? A slave, does a slave have value? Slave have value? No. No one looks at a slave as someone of value. No. Belittled. That's how they've depicted men in our current age. Okay? That is the modern culture that's being promoted to us and our children in every single institution in the West. And that culture is being carried all over the world right now. Okay? That's the reality. They want to change what human history has carried for thousands of years with this new culture that they've created, which started only in the 1960s. Okay? Before this, you find every single culture in human society. Let me say it again. Every single culture in human society, without exception, no exceptions, they had a completely different idea of what it was to be a man. In fact, most of them were pretty much the same, the traditional model, and then Islam came and perfected it. Islam came and perfected it. Every single culture knew that there's a hierarchy in the world, in the human race. The top of the hierarchy is Allah, or whichever God that they worshipped. Every single society. At the top of the hierarchy is Allah or the God that they had adopted. Then, underneath that hierarchy, underneath God, were men. And they had a role to play. Underneath men were women. And they had a role to play. And if everyone didn't play their role, society could not function. That culture would die out. That civilization would die out. They would not achieve. And they would not progress. That's how it has been up until about 70 years ago. Then everything decided, they changed. Everything's turned upside down now. So we could go into this model that they're promoting, but we don't need to. I've depicted it for you. Islam. What does Islam want from us? How should men be? Okay, I'm not going to lecture you today. Okay, I know you came here thinking you're going to get lectured. I want you, normally I would say don't take out your phones, but take out a Quran. You need a Quran with the translation. If you know Arabic, fine. if you don't know Arabic and you can't understand verses, I want you to take out a translation of the Quran. Use your phone, use an app, take one off the shelf, get it quickly. You got 20 seconds to be ready. I'm going to give you an ayah and you need to look at it with the few people around you. Quickly grab a Quran with a translation, if you need one. Yalla, fast. 20 seconds. Okay, right, task one. I'm going to give you an ayah to look at, and you have to tell me what are the characteristics of men in this verse. Okay? Verse number 108 in Surah At-Tawbah. Surah At-Tawbah, verse 108. Verse 108 in Surah At-Tawbah. Right, look at the verse. The verse says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا تقم فيه أبدا لمسجد أسس على التقوى من أول يوم أحق أن تقوم فيه. Okay, this is the verse, and the verse continues. I want you to look at that verse, verse 108. And you have 2 minutes. You can talk to the people around you, and I want you to tell me what the characteristics of men Allah is talking about in this verse. Off you go. You got 2 minutes. One minute left. Twenty seconds. Okay, time's up. Okay, let's start in this corner. Sheikh Muhammad over there. Yalla. At-taqwa. Okay? Where is taqwa in the verse? Good, right. The masjid was built upon taqwa. Who built the masjid? Who built it? The men built it. The men, because that's their job. Okay? And they got together and they built it. By the way, which masjid was this? Okay? Right. So these are the two opinions of the scholars. Right? Masjid al-Nabawi, or was it Masjid al-Quba? Okay? And to bring them both together, the Prophet ﷺ said, this is my masjid, but it also applies to Masjid Quba. Yeah? It's most fitting for Masjid al-Nabawi, and it's also fitting for Masjid Quba. Okay? Both are included, but first and foremost, it is Masjid al-Nabawi. Yeah? The Prophet ﷺ's mosque in Al-Madinah. Okay, the men are the ones who are building this. Right, so taqwa was the first thing. Right, so anything else that we learn from the verse? Yeah? Good. So is a part of man's life to purify? Excellent. Right. Good. They like to purify themselves. What kind of purity is it? What kind of purity? Yep. Right, so there's that aspect. You want to be forgiven, you want to be pure, you want to be forgiven for any defects that you have or any sins that you've committed. There's that side of it. Is there any other side of purity? Physical and spiritual, both of them together. So that's part of being a man. Hygiene is part of being a man. It's part of being a Muslim. Hygiene is central to our faith, whether you're man or woman. But very, very important for a man. Because a man is in public more than a woman. On Friday, why is it that we have to have a bath? Why do we have to have a bath before we come to Salatul Jumu'ah? Why? Huh? It's a sunnah. Yeah, it's the sunnah of the Prophet. But what's the wisdom behind it?
Because the time of Prophet when people used to go for Juma and they used to come in the Masjid and used to smell because it took you to smell up your sweat and everything until it became compulsory for everybody to have a bath before they come for Juma.
Okay, good. When you're in a public gathering, the Prophet ﷺ has legislated for us, when you come to a public gathering, lots of people, you should be clean because you should not harm others. And they should not be harmed by you. Okay? By foul smells, especially in the gathering of the week for the Muslims. Even when it comes to coming to the masjid. Can you come smelling? Are you just eating garlic and eating onions? Can you come to the masjid like that? No, you need to clean out your mouth. Make it it doesn't smell. Prophet ﷺ says that the angels are harmed by that which harms human beings. Foul smells. So the fiqh of this is if you eat something that has a foul smell and that can be smelled on your breath, clean your mouth out before you come to the salah. A gathering of Muslims and a gathering of the angels. Right, so personal hygiene is very, very important in Islam. This is part of being a man, part of being a Muslim in general. So this is something key. Right, anything else in this ayah? Yeah, Allah loves that purity. So there's an encouragement for purity. Anything else?
The men, they stand in the masjid.
Right, men come to the masjid. Right, that's the exact thing that it says. But men are going to be in public, and that's what Allah wants. Men are going to do those public deeds. The salah is a public demonstration of our submission to Allah. And we do that as men publicly, in front of everyone. You know, that courage to stand up when it's time to pray, no matter who's around, and we pray. In our environment, non-Muslim environment, sometimes people will point their finger and say, Muslim. They will. And they say much more than that sometimes. But to be a Muslim man, you need to be able to do that with confidence. So already you've got an indication of courage in public. You know what we made the boys do right now? They're right at the beginning. Got them to stand up. This is part of being a man. But there's something else implicit here. When you come to the masjid, are you standing by yourself? What else is there? What's going on?
It's mention of rijal, which means that it's not one person.
There's many men. Right. Part of being a man is networking. Part of being a man is what? Networking. Being part of the jama'ah. Part of the congregation as being a man. You can't achieve things as a man that you need to achieve and that you will need to achieve except by being part of the jama'ah. Being part of the community, the congregation. You need to be able to network. You need to know this one, know that one. What skills does that person have? What skills does that person have? When I need to do this, I know who to go to. I need to get something done. I have no idea about it. What do I do? I have no idea about how to get this thing done. What am I going to do? How do I do it? Find someone who knows. Yeah? Nowadays we just pick up Google, yeah? We type it on Google or YouTube and find a video. No. If you have the network to do it, you have a helping hand. And that's part of being a man. Because you cannot function as a man to achieve the things that you need to do by yourself. Not possible. It's not how human society has ever worked. Allah is telling you, you are part of the jama'ah. And if you're not, Shaitan's going to pick you off and destroy you. And you will fail as being a man. Okay? Right. These are some of the things that you need to keep in your minds. Next, I want to move on to one other ayah, and then I'm going to move into something else. Right. This ayah is in Surah An-Nisa. Very important ayah. Verse 34. Okay? Verse 34 in Surah An-Nisa. Okay, you have, again, 2 minutes. Look at verse 34 in Surah An-Nisa. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. Okay? Just that part of the ayah is enough for you to look at. 2 minutes. One minute left. Twenty seconds. Okay, time's up. The boy in the corner right there. What did you see in the eye? Yep, you. Okay, that's one translation. Yeah. So what do you understand by that?
Men should
Boss them around? Is that how it works? No, it's not. It's not how it works. So what does it mean? If you're in charge of something. Right, let me give you an example. You said in charge, right. So I say to you, right, you know what? What's your name? Ibrahim. You're in charge of making sure the masjid stays clean. Then someone comes in and he starts taking out his food and he starts eating in this masjid. But you're in charge of that to make sure the masjid stays clean. What do you have to do? Tell him to eat somewhere else. Okay, tell him to eat somewhere else. So in charge, in this context, what did it mean? Forget the ayah for a second. What I said now, the example of the masjid and keeping it clean. In charge meant what? Take care. Be responsible. Okay, that's what it means. So That's one translation. Other translations will say caretakers. They are the guardians. Okay? So that attitude has to be there. You are responsible. You're a responsible person. You are someone who's going to take care of your women folk. Whether your mother, your sister, your wife in the future or now, your grandmother, the women of your family, your women, female relatives, you're responsible for them. Okay? That's one side of it. Anything else?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did emphasize the beauty of a man from mentioning that the man stands on the woman folk.
Good, spend.
Stands on the woman folk.
So therefore, if you're going to spend from the money Allah has given you, you have to have money.
Yeah.
How'd you get money? Allah gives it? Just like that? You work. Right, you have to do your bit, and then Allah provides for you. Work. Work. Right. The Islamic model is men must work and provide for their families. Men must work and provide for their families. So if you want to be a man in Islam, you need to make sure you're working and you're bringing in money. And not only you're bringing in that money and you have money, but you spend on your family. And how should you spend on your family? Should you be stingy? Should you be extravagant? Based on the needs. Just based on the needs, right? You need this much and that's all I'm going to give you. Not a penny more. Like that? Balanced. What's balanced? What's balanced? Not extravagant, not stingy.
Islam gives us midway.
Right, but you look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? In the hadith of Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was described like this. Anas ibn Malik is the servant of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? He was given by his mother to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at a very young age. And he served the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for how many years? 10 whole years. Sulaym was one of those women. Inshallah, I'm going to talk about her in one of the khutab soon, inshallah. An amazing woman. Yeah, an amazing woman. Radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And you can see her vision. She wants the best for her son, so she gives her beloved son. There's nothing more beloved to her in the world. And she gives him to one who is more beloved to her. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that he can become the best possible. And that's what he became. One of the scholars of this ummah. Anas ibn Malik, he describes the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Kana ashja' an-nas wa kana akram an-nas." He was the most courageous of men, and he was the most generous of men. If you look at the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the most overriding characteristics was generosity. That's how he is depicted. And in fact, you'll find that in every single prophet. Generosity. You know why? Because when you look at Allah's characteristics, He is the most generous. In the hadith of Bukhari, Prophet ﷺ says, look how much Allah has spent and been giving since the beginning of the creation. And He keeps giving, He doesn't stop. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, in one of the narrations it talks about Ibrahim alayhi salam being the Khalil of Allah because he loved to give more than he loved to take, which is a characteristic, as Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala explains, a characteristics from the characteristics of Allah. Allah gives and He never takes. That gives you nobility. That's a man. You like to look after others. You don't like to be looked after. You like to be honorable, dignified. And you don't like to belittle yourself. That's being a man. Okay? These are some key characteristics that we need to inculcate in our young brothers. Now, the key question is, how do we do it? Now I'm going to summarize this because the boys are waiting for their prizes and I don't want to delay it much further. We are sending our children into the institution of schools. And we think that these schools are going to teach them good stuff for free. Schools were never set up to actually give the population good things. They gave you maths and science and English, and they made it free as an incentive. But the real reason schools were created, the whole system of schools, was actually part of the control system of those people in charge, governments. That's why the whole education system was set up. Not for education, to control. We send our children into these indoctrination centers. That's what they are. They indoctrinate you with ideas. They put it in your brain, they make you live it, they keep saying it over and over again from the moment you enter, 4 or 5 years old, until you leave the system at around 21 or after. That's what they do to you. We've been sending our children into these systems who are now teaching our young boys, young men, not to be men according to Islam, but to actually be women. That's what they're doing. Don't have any doubts about it. That's what they're doing. Because this was a promise of shaitan. In Surah An-Nisa, you'll find it. I'm going to order them, وَلَأَمُرَنَّهُمْ, that they're going to do what? To change khalq Allah. They're going to change the creation of Allah. Turn it upside down. Because what will happen? If men start behaving like women and women start behaving like men, you destroy the family. If you destroy the family, there's chaos. And that's what shaitan wants. It's all about fulfilling your desires, and you've turned the whole of the creation upside down. That's what he wants. Allah's system is very clear. A man has a role. The predominant part of his role is outside of the house. You ever think, why does Allah kick the man out of the house 5 times a day? Why? Because his job is mainly outside. He has to take on the rough and tough challenge. It's not a nice world out there. You're competing with everyone to protect your family. It's harsh. You're going to get shouted at. You're going to have to fight for your rights. You're going to have to confront people. You're going to have to deal with all of that rubbish. You have to be tough. You have to be tough. If you're weak, you're going to break. And you won't be able to deal with all of that and deal with your family and protect them. That's your job as a man. When the Prophet ﷺ said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, every one of you is a shepherd and every one of you is responsible for his flock. He said, the man وَالرَّجُلُ رَاعٍ عَلَىٰ أَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ وَهُوَ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْهُمْ. You are responsible for them, taking care of them. They are meant to be at home predominantly. Okay? Their role, the woman's role, is very different. Her one is to bring the softness and the love into the household, to make the house into a home. That's her job. The man has to be out there, getting all the contacts, going out there, working hard, earning the money, bringing it in, spending on his family, being responsible for them. In what way? Not to just maintain their physical being and to nourish their physical bodies. No, to lead them into Jannah. That's the man's role in Islam. Now, how do we get our young boys to start learning how to do that role? You're not going to get this from a school. Not going to happen. If you're waiting for the school to do it, you failed already before you started. Simple. Social media, the TV, the internet, games will not do it. In fact, they will take your child the opposite way. Boys, you're not going to like this. Yeah, you're not going to like this. Okay, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's the truth. And Allah loves the truth, and He doesn't shy away from the truth. Every father and mother who's given their child, who's a boy, a smartphone should take it away. Should take it away. This was created to distract you. Games, you can play them sometimes, but it should be limited. Boys have a nature where they like to do things and get better at them. Because that's what you need in the working world. You do something over and over again, you gain experience, you become an expert at that thing. And at the same time, Islam teaches you, you need to have a skill. You need to have a skill, because without a skill, you are never going to be able to earn money. And you need to be an expert in that skill that people want and value. So what does that mean? As parents, we need to push them in the direction of the skills that will be useful when they grow up, when they need to earn money. That's our job. And at the same time, we need to take away their free time and fill it with good things. Islam wants you to be strong. Prophet ﷺ encouraged wrestling, he encouraged swimming, he encouraged archery. Things that make you physically strong. He doesn't want you to sit there on a tablet and become weak. He doesn't want that. This is not what Allah wants for men. Physically, mentally, emotionally, you need to be strong. These are some key characteristics. How do you get there? Boys, young boys, in the past, by 12 years old, they would have to work. They would be responsible for their families and bringing in money. Responsibility at a very young age. You can't learn responsibility unless you're in a hierarchy where there's a boss over you, and if you mess up, you're going to feel it. Yeah? In the past, you would feel it physically. They don't let you do that anymore. In fact, even in schools now, you know, when we were kids, the teachers used to shout at you. Oh, yes, they did. Now, the education system, they don't even let teachers shout really loud at the children. It's not allowed anymore. It's ridiculous. That's going to take away strong men from our communities. Because when you mess up, you need to feel it. Because when you feel, I've messed up and I've done something wrong, you're not going to do that again. You imagine, if you're part of an army, and this used to happen in this country as well. Pre-1960, everyone had to enroll in the army and go and do their training. It was an obligation. You know, that, going into an army setting, a military setting, which all countries used to do, makes you understand that, you know what? Life is not just a game. It's a serious business here. And if I don't do what I'm meant to do, not only am I going to get a bollocking for it, but it could mean the loss of people's lives. That used to be the making of so many young men. When that changed around 1960 odd, what happened? Boys and men, young men, they just started amusing themselves and not becoming responsible. And if you look from then until now, the family has declined. Until now, we have the greatest time in history where you have the most broken homes, you have the most single parent families, you have the most violence outside on the streets and no care for people's lives. You have all the rubbish. So what we need to do is go back. Take away some of the luxuries of life for our boys and our children in general. Put responsibility on their shoulders at an early age. Not from us only, from outside, where there's a structure, they have a boss, they have to get jobs done. If they don't get done, they get punished in some severe way, so they feel it. They get paid. Yes, they get paid. That'll be good for them. You can't send them to work outside. It's illegal. But you need to find a way to do it, even with pocket money and chores in the house, chores at work. You need to get them in that environment. If we don't, we're going to fail our young boys. طيب, I could carry on, and it's a discussion that needs to be had in detail, but I think that's enough for today. جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Now, where are the prizes that we have to give out? Where are the prizes? Where's Wahid? He's got the certificates as well. I've got the names in front of. Oh, here's the certificates. Right. So let me. Wahid's here. Good. Right. So can I have? Let's deal with the. Is it first prize first?
No, starting from the bottom.
Starting from the bottom, yeah. Is Khalid Rahman here and Suhail Rahman? They're not here? Okay. Right, so then third place. Yusuf Hussein. Yusuf Hussein. Is Yusuf here? Yep. Come forward, Yusuf. MashaAllah, well done. MashaAllah, Yusuf. Right, so you get a £10 gift card with that certificate.
Keep that safe.
Yeah, keep that safe. You can spend it on what you want, yeah? What's in the bag? You didn't tell him what's in the bag.
Pay a Masjid Tawhid bag, Fortress of Muslim, English
MashaAllah.
translation of Quran, and most importantly, chocolate.
He can't say that. After he pulled out the Quran, the translation of the Quran, he said, most important thing, chocolates. Astaghfirullah. I think you need to make tawbah for that one. Okay, right, next one. Right, you've got second place, Khalid Sheikh. Khalid Sheikh, who, Yusuf there got 81% attendance for Fajr, and Khalid got 93.75. So he's second. There you go. £20 gift voucher there. And also, second place as well, Azhar Sheikh and Khalid Sheikh. So both of them. Who have we got here? Khalid. Where's Khalid? MashaAllah. But you know what? You know who should get a prize as well? Yeah, the parents, isn't it? Yeah, but you're getting the prize. Before you were coming and you only got one Fajr Salah. Now, every time you came and brought your child, if you had one child, that's two. Two Fajr Salahs you got. Yeah? But not only two Fajr Salahs. Every step you took with your child, that was a good deed and the wiping away of a bad deed. And just imagine, one of those salahs, just Fajr in Jama'ah, was half the night in prayer. So that was for you and your child, or two children, or three children, whatever it was. So, you had a bigger reward than them. These little things, they don't last. Your reward is waiting for you in the hereafter. Okay? And every time you went, Allah has prepared for you all like you treat the guest. Yeah? Nuzulan. The things that you give the guest, Allah's prepared that for you in Jannah. Every single salah you come to. Whether the morning one or the night one. Okay, so that's the parents' reward. We're not going to give you something in the dunya though. You have to wait for it in the hereafter, because you're big boys. Right, so first prizes. So we've got Ibrahim Farouk. We've got Dawood Iqbal. We've got Harun, I can't pronounce your second name, so I'm not going to try. Mu'ad Ahmed as well. Right, four of them. Who are you? Ibrahim, that's yours. How much is it? £25 voucher. Right, Dawood Iqbal, that's you. And Harun, that's you. And Mu'ad, that's you. MashaAllah, well done. MashaAllah. Harun, how old are you? 9, MashaAllah, well done. MashaAllah, excellent. Okay, and that's all the prizes. Jazakumullah khairah to all of you for coming tonight. I hope it was beneficial. May Allah accept it. May Allah protect our families. May Allah protect our boys. Make them grow up as responsible, solid Muslim men who give preference to the hereafter over this dunya. Jazakumullah khairah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'll check and I'll text you.